YouTube, what's going on? Know it's been a while. Some of y'all probably trying to figure out where I've been. Alright. Let's say life has a way of changing your plans. Okay. I've had a lot of victories, setbacks, lessons, wins, losses, draws, and a lot of time to think. Today I want to tell you where I've been, why I disappeared, what's coming next. So I say we'll start with why I stepped away. The truth is, life just gets busy, man. You know, life's busy. Especially going through a life-altering event that I went through, changing careers. It's hard. It's hard going from one lifestyle to another. But, we get through it. So, I just been working my new civilian job. Just trying to get by, trying to survive out here in this world, man. And, family's becoming more of a priority for me. I know that kind of sounds messed up. Family should have always been a priority, right? But you know how it is when we're young and dumb. The older I get, the more I tend to realize, sometimes your family and your time is a lot more valuable than money. If you didn't know, I am an entrepreneur. I own multiple businesses, and running those businesses takes a lot of time, energy, and money. I have the James Family Farm that I'm running full time. That's a lot of work going on there. I launched my drone business. It's called JD Skyview LLC. So flying drones. Got that going. I'm running 3 YouTube channels. Believe it or not. Besides this YouTube channel, I have 2 other channels that I'm running. So got a lot going on. A lot going on for sure. Just the farm in itself, that's a full-time job. Animals need to be taken care of constantly. And on the farm, we're running cattle. We got some goats, we got some chickens, we got some ducks right now. So something always needs to be done around the farm, either dealing with farm animals or farm chores or just maintenance, Other than that, I've just been learning and growing, learning how to be a civilian, maneuvering, operating in a civilian world. That's kind of been a challenge. Let's talk a little bit about what I've learned since I've been gone. And I'll tell you, one of the things I've learned is success doesn't happen overnight. Success does not happen overnight. And sometimes you got to risk it all just to win big, So, like I said, I got a couple of things I'm working on. And, I'm trying to push it. Trying to get there. I'm slowly chipping away. Trying to climb that ladder again, after I jumped off the building. I'm slowly trying to climb my way back up a little bit, Just what I want to relate to you is failure teaches a lot more than success. If you watch my previous videos, I've come from nothing. I've come from nothing. I know how to live with nothing. I know how to survive in and with nothing. And I've learned a lot. I was able to be as successful as I was in my military career and in my law enforcement career based off of my failures. I've learned a lot from failing. And I'm taking those lessons over to the civilian world. And I want to relate to you guys, if you fail, that's all right. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, Try again. Keep it pushing. Don't give up. Never give up. It has been difficult, living a civilian, being in a civilian life. It's been difficult. I've had my times. And, most importantly, my faith got me through. My faith in God, faith in my family got me through. Which leads to my next thing is family matters more than titles. I've had rank, I've had titles in the military and in law enforcement. And some people hang their hats up on those ranks and those titles, man, and it becomes their identity. I'm telling you right now, man, your family matters more. I went to the Army when I was 18. When I left, my brother and sister were kids. When I came home, they were adults. I missed a lot of time with my family. My mom, my dad has passed away now. So, all of the time and all of the years that I was away from him, not spending time with him, those years are gone. Ain't no getting that time back. I got kids. I've sacrificed a lot for my kids, even in my law enforcement career. I didn't even take, what's it called, maternity leave, paternity leave, whenever your kid's born, for my daughter. I took a day and I went right back to work. I said, and my wife was mad at me, and I'm telling her, babe, the job needs me. They need me, right? Y'all always gonna be here. I need to be there for my job. My people need me, and stupid, foolish, man. My son that was born before that, I took less than a week. That was my first child. And I'm telling you, the time that I spent away from my family, I'll never get that time back. I missed out on, little things my kids have done, and, moving forward, that's out. My family and my kids are my life, right? And building a meaningful life takes patience. Things don't happen overnight. Don't give up. You got to keep going. Keep it pushing. So what happens next? What's the future for the channel here? Moving forward, you're liable to see anything. I might post some hunting videos here and there. I haven't really been hunting a lot because, I've been away for work. And, other things like the outer business is taking a lot of my time. I think I'm going to start making some more farming videos. I know I do a lot of farming videos and photos and stuff on social media. I might incorporate some of that into the YouTube channel. Drone projects that I'm working on in the drone business. I think I might push some videos. I do have a drone channel, so I might not push too much drone content on this one, but I might talk about things like that, going towards business building. I might go into how I started the drone business how I started James Family Farm, how I started my other businesses too, Optic Mobile, iPhone repair business, and my first business was a janitorial services business called Pro Right Cleaning Solutions, which was an epic failure, right? I'm gonna be honest with you up front right there. But that's just the thing. That's why I think my later businesses were more successful, was because of that epic failure of that first business. That business failed epically, and I learned a lot from it, right? I might go over just, family moments. I like to kind of separate my family from business. I do consider YouTube a business, but the older I get, I don't care. This is just who I am. My family's a part of me, so I might incorporate some family-oriented videos in here. And just having honest conversations about life. This channel isn't about pretending that I've got life figured out at all, because I'll be the first to tell you my life is not figured out at all. I'm all over the place. I've had my highs, I've had my lows, and I'll be honest with you, I ain't gonna say I'm not too far from the bottom, but I'm far from the top. You know, I'm very far from the top compared to where I felt like I was at the height of my life. I'm far from that right now. You know, keeping it real with you. You know, and I just want to share the lessons I learned while I'm still learning as well. So I feel like I'm starting to ramble a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing up, man. You know, it's whether you've been here since the beginning, or if this is your first time we've met, I want to thank you for being here. You know, if my story can help even one person avoid the mistakes I've made, or find some hope when life gets hard, because life will indeed get hard. It ain't an if, it's a when, right? Then every video I make is worth making, okay? This is a new chapter. It's not just for this channel, but for me as well, okay? I hope you come along for the ride. So, till next time, real life, real lessons, real adventure, baby. Keep it pushing. Never give up. See you on the next one.